Why, hello, welcome back to Cities 2. My name is Dava, and we will be continuing the city of Davesport. We will be making our own little custom grid and two little highway interchanges. So, with that being said, let's go. So, on today's agenda, we will be working on our first little starter neighborhood, which will take place alongside our pretend northeast corridor line here. Now, I really want to get just one main road to be situated, especially across the entire corridor, just because this highway and this highway, they're relatively far away from each other, so I want to make them at least somewhat connectable via any type of road. Not highway road, but just like a partial highway. Not really, not like your highway with a bunch of slow traffic. I want like a high speed limit road. So we're going to attempt to do that as well at the same time. It'll be our nice arterial. That's the word I was looking for. Our arterial road to be placed alongside here to connect these two. But our first neighborhood, we're going to start right here. I kind of labeled it off already, but right in this district. And speaking of districts, I am almost inclined to give each district its own like county. So if you don't know this, you can have anarchy and place districts beyond districts, like, so in this case a county, a township, or however it goes. This is like, I'm talking about like American standards with townships and counties go. So counties are the larger areas around each county, has their own jurisdiction. Then the townships, little towns in between each county. There could be many towns inside of a county, but many townships inside of a county, but that's what I want to do for here. And for here, I tried to keep everything at a specific distance. Like, I'm putting the first town alongside the corridor because I want to have stations alongside here. So I want to put a station at least in each different town. So one station per town. That's usually how it goes. So when I had this labeled out over here, Bedford Glade, I don't know if I'll keep the name. I might name things as I go or forget. We'll see. But each spot or each township has its own station. The next one will be over here. The next one will be over here, that kind of simple thing. Give it a nice spacing apart so each person can go from town to town to town instead of having a series of stations in between here, similar to what Metro does. Metro will have just a series of stops placed 4 blocks, 3 blocks, 2 blocks apart, that kind of thing. But with trains, they're different. Trains have to go farther distance. So when I mentioned about measuring, I also wanted each one to be a nice distance away from each other, like say about a mile. I wish this was in feet, or I prefer to see things in feet than yards. Yards are a bit, we don't really use yards that often in these American units. Everything's mostly feet. Like this thing is like 1,000 feet apart or 2,000 feet apart. Like 5,280 feet equals 1 mile, or 1,760 yards equals 1 mile as well. But that's a bit much for me, yards. And the same thing goes for highways as well. Highways, the usual rule of thumb is a mile an exit. So it depends on the state that you're in. Oftentimes you will see states say this is exit 4. The next exit is for some reason exit 19, because that exit is on mile marker 19 for where the highway goes to. So let's say, for example, this will be exit 1. And you see we pass here 3 miles, meaning that this exit over here, the next exit will be exit 3 if I put an exit here, exit number 3. In some other states, they do it in consecutive order, which is kind of bad. They do, if this is 1, this is 2, the next one's 3, without really having any distance to it. It gives you a bad sense of how far something is, which is something that I don't want, but not that I can name highways in this game. Anyway, like put little signs. I'd love to make signs in this game, like procedural objects in Cities 1. That was great, but now I'm just rambling. But yes, I want to place a arterial road across this corridor. It won't be parallel with it because that'd be kind of boring. I'll make it do a little bit of squiggles and little whoozy what's-its until we get to the other side of the road. So for starters, I want to get a road connected to this highway. This is where all of the cars are going to feed from to get down here. And I'm putting the exit here instead of over here, mostly because there is a train here. But that's not really, that's an excuse, if anything. I could put an exit between here. I could put one over here. But, again, as I said before, they're about a mile apart. So yes, I'd like to put one here. There will be one here. But let's start here first. I'm believing it's going to be rather... I can't say simple exit. I don't want to... Well, me personally, I don't like doing exits where it's just on-ramp, off-ramp kind of exit. I hate those kind of exits. They're very boring. So we're going to do some little clovers, not 4-leaf clovers, those are the worst kinds, but we're gonna do some little half clovers and little ramps just to make this exit look nice. You know, let's begin that. Let's at least try to make that. I'll try to do these without doing too many time lapses, but for starters, let's get a wider road from here to here. We're just gonna say that, pretend that this is the range of what we're going to do with the ramp. We need the ramp itself, actually. So let's get a nice height clearance, which is too low. Try not to take everything. Oops. That's 58. You know what? Let's try doing this. Do one little tap, but it's gonna... Oh, not bad. Let's take it. That was 55 feet, or yards. These yards. Yards really kill me here. About 50 yards, 2 yards. If it was feet, this would be so much more easier to handle. By 60. 60, this looks like an appropriate height for a truck to pass underneath. So, what I want to do is just push this back just a bit, and same thing on both sides. Place this down. I do want this road to continue forward and not end. I don't know what I'll do for anything beyond here. That's for a much later date, or until my computer can handle what I'm going to do over here first. But we'll see. Usually my computer can only handle a certain population, about 400,000, until I upgrade it to a better CPU, but that day will come, and it will happen. So around this range, this seems about right. I went a little bit higher here, just because it looked like it was gonna sag just a bit. I wanted to prevent that. We are now going to place a little gap between. Now I do this just for one reason. It's the pillars. Sometimes when pillars spawn on highways, they look a little... They tend to spawn inside the highway, which is something I don't want. Like this one's fine. Now the gap is a little bit large, so in this case we can pull this in. I do want at least one pillar, like this pillar in the middle, shown through, because it's a big distance. A big distance. So let's get a nice gap in here. Like that. We don't want a whole road just to have no pillars underneath it, because it seems like the bridge is a little bit light with the weight that's going to be carried on it. We want to at least have some structure within this bridge, so let's try to at least spawn a pillar if we can, or force a pillar, but I don't know if we are able to here. No, probably not. Let's try. I'm going to pull you back just a little bit more. I really want this pillar here. Again, you don't really need it, but I'm just doing this for realism. Oh, I just saw it right there. Okay. I'm gonna take this road. Now, this is the freight line. I'm not sure if I want railroad crossing here. I probably don't, because I feel like this line will be the most used. I intend to just have this line. This line should not have any freight or any kind of other passenger service besides my own passing on here. So I shouldn't have to worry about that. So you know what? I will actually make this one do an overpass instead of an underpass. I could do an overpass itself, the road, but it's a far ways from the water until I do that. So let's do this. And the road can dip down if it has to. We are going to take this terrain here, smoothing this out into the ground. Now this is it's a pretty steep slope. Let's put it back from out here. This should suffice fine. I'm gonna pull this all the way out. And now with this road here, we're actually gonna change this road type. I made a few different roads that were highway oriented, so they have a lot of travel, much more travel, and a faster experience. We're gonna do this one here. It does have a sidewalk, but it is a highway road rather than having a small road with parking. Sometimes there are specific types of roads, especially the ones with parking, that I just don't like to have. The speed limits are too low, but the parking on the road makes it a little bit too... It doesn't look right. I'm gonna pull this across me. Continue the stretch of highway road across. Oh, and my pillar is gone. So you know what? We're gonna leave it like that. We're not gonna stress about it too much. Make a series of smaller roads. Just pull it out just so I can get another node to be placed between there, because I also want to have a quay wall wrapped around these two, and then we smoothen it out just to give it like a nice sense of hill here. I tend to do this for every bridge, especially if it's roads. No, I don't believe a truck can fit under there. I can fit under this one, but I don't think it'll be able to fit under this one. No, I don't see a truck coming by soon. Close enough. Let's see. You can fit just a little bit. You can fit, but I feel like box trucks are a little bit taller. But that's fine for now. We'll work on it. Now for here, we want a clover on one side or the other. I want one exit ramp or one entrance onto this road as much as possible. So let's try do something different here. Plan out this portion, plan out to this level. Keep this one at the same height. What we're gonna do is a reversal, a forward. We're gonna reverse this way and go forward. We're actually gonna take away this excess piece here and make it continue forward. So we're gonna add an extra lane here. 3 lane. Oops. Do this and do this. Also a good reason to have another wide space between here. Now again, we're going to keep the continuous curve tool here because it is nice for making those wide turns, but in this case, this might be a little bit too wide. We do want this to come out just a bit before we do any kind of curving, so let's actually take this road here, or the terrain, flatten it just a bit, same thing for the other side for the future use. And slope it. We're gonna make sure our slope tool is turned on. If you have constant slope or if you have anarchy, that tool is gonna be your best friend to use in this case, because you want it to slope up the hill without doing any abrupt changes. Here it will do an abrupt change, but that's for later use when we use move it to fix it. So we're gonna do this and curve it around, and the same for the other side. I'll go here and curve it around as well. Now, it may look a little bit funky, and it does. It just looks a little bit funky, but it's a workaround. We can work with it. Now again here, what we see here is the process of our bad sloping here. So we're gonna push this road down. It does take some time if you're new to mods or new to just move it specifically to learn how to use these, what are you called, manipulation mode tools. But once you get the hang of it, it's actually really simple. You can get a really easy understanding of how it works. You just manipulate the roads and toggle them down to change your slope. It's a mixture of the first 2 mods in Cities 1 with a node controller and or network multi-tool. No, it's been so long since I played Cities 1. I might play it again in the future just to remember what it was like to play that game. So tune in on twitch.tv/Davesport77 if you want to see that. Famous plug. But let's continue. This would be our exit. Now what you see here is just 1 lane. This is very non-efficient. What we can do, make it a little bit better is to add an extra lane on this side. Now, what we want to do here is to make this as efficient as possible. So you can also use a asymmetrical road here just to give it that sense of familiarity. So we can do here, make this go all the way up to it, and same thing here, make this go all the way up. Make sure the highway side has 2 lanes going into the main road itself, into the arterial road. Make sure the 1 lane is going down to the highway. You want to put this down, make sure it runs right into the highway. Same thing can be said for this side. Don't have a 3-lane here, it's a little bit far, so let's pull this in. This. Somewhere around here. Oop, don't form a bridge. We're gonna set this to ground mode so nothing, the elevation doesn't turn into a bridge or a tunnel. Again, just like Anarchy from Cities 1. We keep it like that. Again here, we do see a little hip. We want to make sure that all of these things are not in our ramps. We want to make sure everything's nice and smooth. And nearly just like that, we have the entire interchange, namely done. That's all we really need for this kind of interchange. Something simple. A nice in and outlet. Now, to make it even better, we don't want any turns on this road. We want to make this yield. So we're going to make this road come out and turn down here to force a yield. That way there's no need for any kind of sharp right turns. So just come in smoothly and go down. Same thing for the other side. Come in smoothly and go down. And the same could be said for this side as well. Now here's what we make it a little bit special. We could take away a lane to make this a singular lane turns, but that might be pushing it just a bit. And the same here. I would put this here, but honestly, they're relatively close. They're relatively close, but let's see if I can make it work. And it just does. Just a little bit. I'm actually going to... Well, maybe not. Yeah, I will. I'm going to remove a lane. In this case. Make sure it's centered. This is centered as well. Now for everything that's doesn't seem right, we're going to use the manipulation mode and move it again. Just to make everything work correctly. Or run correctly. And after this, we will use the traffic mod. The traffic mod is your friend in these cases especially, where none of the roads, or all of the roads look like they're merging into different lanes. This is a feature that I wish was in vanilla Cities 1. So with the traffic mod, we're gonna do a lane connector. We're going to, I remove all unsafe turns, like U-turns like this, or any dash lines you see. I don't like having those often, just because cars oftentimes do it a little bit too much and it's unnecessary sometimes. And I want to make sure they go down the right path. So we remove those extra turns, those excess turns. We're going to remove this turn. We're going to remove any right turns. And make sure it stays like this. And if we want to do something special, make it 1 lane only. Keep it like this if we wanted to. The same can be said for the other side. Remove unsafe. We're going to disable turn on that side. Keep this here. We're going to remove unsafe. Remove these 2 lanes that should not be turning across like this. And there we have it. Remove this unsafe. Remove you. And now we should be good. Right there. Lastly, remove all the crosswalks, the unnecessary crosswalks, which is a lot. Remove those. And we shouldn't have any coming down to the highway, but just in case. Remove these, remove you. And that should be all. And if you want to do something special, you can put a traffic light if you want to. Or you could do something from the original, and what many would do was put a roundabout there, but I'm not too fond of roundabouts, so I'm not going to do that. I just like having traffic lights, having stop and go traffic. Not all the time, but stop and go, stop and go. You can never go wrong with that. And just so the arrows appear. Oh, I missed the truck. Oh, wrong side. It's fine. Okay. And just like that, we have our first interchange. Simple. Nothing too out of the ordinary, but Yes, nice and simple. We're gonna continue to push this road all the way down into this area. So I will do the offshore portions off cam so you can't see that, but I'm gonna start to work on over here once we get to it. All right. Okay. So we've built the bridge. The bridge continues to go across. We did the train as well, so the train is now an overpass instead. Oop, nope. There you go. There you go. Now an overpass. So now we have to get into the actual area to build in. So here's where we have to actually pay attention and look at the grid. Not grid, the terrain. So the main road here. I actually want to pull this road out all the way through here and make our collector road, which is the road that will be collecting all the local roads. That will be fueling or funneling everything into the main arterial road, which is this road over here. And the cool thing about this road is that I had placed zoning on this one, or it has zoning. So I can actually put commercial alongside this road if I wanted to, that is. And, you know, I think I would want to do that. It could be commercial, it could be actually anything, it doesn't really matter. This road will do its own little twists and turns just to go around the terrain, topography. And then at some points just go straight. A simple little main arterial road. It'll be the most highway road. As a matter of fact, I have made two of these. This one, I should use this road instead. Make it feel more like a highway. This one does not have any zoning, so let me fix that real quick. I hope the game does not crash, but port zoning, and it requires lights. Alright, be upgraded with lighting. To allow pass electricity. Does it require that? If I do this? No. Okay. Does it? No. Okay, good. So yeah, now there's lighting, and you could actually put grass on this road too, which is pretty neat. Grass and trees if you wanted to. So like a nice little divided highway going alongside the entire corridor here. Yeah, I could do these two types of roads. And no parking. That is probably the most important thing about this road, is that it should have no parking at all. Actually, I have to erase this since this is a previously edited road. There we go. And actually fix the grid really nicely. That's actually really nice. It's very smug in there. Can I do this too? Oh, it does work too. It does take away a little bit of, but that's pretty good. Now let's go to the main neighborhood here. Now, before, my first real video that I've made was building a basic neighborhood. And we're going to be doing nearly the exact same thing. So what we have here is just, let's get our little collector road here, which would just be a basic road here. I don't want to say one lane, two-way road, because it won't be two, or it won't be one lane at this point. It'll be one lane going back and further beyond, but from this point forward, will not. We're gonna make these roads do small curves. We don't want the roads to be making gradual curves, because if we go into first person mode, for example, let's take a look in first person. Wrong button. Oop, here we go. If you go in first person mode, you can see that the road makes just a very kind of sharp turn, but not too wide. You don't want a continuous curve alongside one of these roads. It just feels weird. Imagine driving on the road and you're having the wheel just turned for a very long time, because remember, these distances, that's 140 yards right there. That's a long distance to be curving like that, especially through here to here. That's nearly 3/4 of a mile, or nearly half a mile. That's pretty drastic, if anything. So we want to make these curves a little bit close, just to keep with the realism. Continue straight, and just continue to make our little collector road. Just do all these series of little turns. Again, we want to look at the topography. Topography isn't really that intrusive on this area, which is good. But in some points, it will dip down. In this case, I'm just going to make it slightly turned. With it coming down in this direction, it'll ease its way down the hill, which is alright. I have no real complaints about that, but it's, again, it's not really much of a hill. It's more of a little plateau. Continue forward and come alongside this way. This would be our main route, our main collector road. It's gonna go back into the arterial, which will be further down, which, let me, while I'm at it, get this road. I'll make it too straight, but then again, I'm gonna make it curve. Come back in, pass between the rocks a little bit, and curve back out. Don't want to go too far, but you know, we want to keep it a nice distance away. Again, this road's gonna come down, curve in, most likely turn out and come to the highway and continue going down south. That's my plan anyway with this road. And then just have like a little branch road, little boop, just come off the side. That goes right into, I can't call this the main downtown city because the main side will be over here. But like the, imagine this is Manhattan, this side's downtown Brooklyn. That's what it's kind of like. So that's the idea. A little branch side coming down through here. The main road will go to the highway, but we can do that afterwards. We'll do that after we make a little neighborhood. I just want to show you how I go about making these neighborhoods. I will tend to do or build more of it off stream just so I can get the city going. Right now, oddly enough, I don't have any single housing demand, which is weird. There's no low density, but I don't have anything in this city. But you know what? I won't complain about it. It's a little off, but yeah, it's fine. Let's see, through here. I just like picking little angles to see which one's gonna come off here. So again, collector, all the local roads will come off of this road. So let's get a basic road. A basic one. Same thing over here. Another basic road off of it. I actually should use my suburban road. My suburban road is just a road without markings. That's all it is. So get these roads. These are my larger roads that's gonna pass through here. Again, turn and do what they can. And off of these roads will be my main roads, my main local road, like the alleyway roads. These ones, oops, these ones will fit the area quite nicely. Just to fill it in. Come through. And these ones, honestly, I wouldn't be mad if they didn't come back to the main road, like this one over here. It goes up to the water. Or another one branches off of here, like so. Off. Then who knows? This one could just turn into a small little alley road as we're going through. Just like that. Again, they can be set over here. Oopsies. Come off from here as it's going through. Turn slightly. Will it touch? Maybe. Or just have this one turn slightly this way. We make our way down. And then our smaller little alley roads will be the ones to branch off of these roads. They won't touch the collector road. They'll go near it, but won't touch it. Come through here. And these ones I tend to like make them... I tend to make them do sharper curves like this. Because these ones, at the ends of their roads, I like to give them cul-de-sacs. And now that the game actually updated to where we actually have cul-de-sacs without the need of having to place roundabouts, which is so right. Cul-de-sacs are, they're pretty alright. The one thing I will say is that when you put plants between them, they just become roundabouts, I'm not gonna lie. So I tend to leave them blank unless it's like a really nice fancy neighborhood. This one's not, so we're gonna leave it like this. These ones will be the cul-de-sac roads. We're gonna continue through again and do these. Well, the good thing about doing these is that they don't have a grid. This is a good way to avoid making grids if you have a problem with doing that. Because grids are nice. They're good. They show order. But sometimes you just don't want order in places where it doesn't look like there needs to be order. So if I had a grid in the middle of nowhere, like all the way up here, when there should be one down here, it just looks a little off-putting, in my eyes anyway. That's why I tend to do these little things over here. And for any void spaces, you can either just fill it with trees, or even better, get a decal for farmland or agriculture. Agriculture, that word's always hard for me to say. Silence one of them. for agriculture, and then it should work fine. I'm doing this. Get a series of more other roads. Make it turn this way, but make this one do a dead end here. This one goes forward. We're gonna take a new one here. You're gonna come up and curve at a larger radius. Turn. And we're gonna make this one turn into this road. Just like that. A nice connection between. And this one over here, I'll make this one connect to this one. Just because there's no way for... The one thing that's dangerous about making these neighborhoods, you really want to make sure that there is access to other roads. Because you don't want to have a whole blank corridor separating two different neighborhoods completely. That's very counterintuitive of what you're trying to do. You really want to make them connect. Make these join as much as possible, but without making them look like they're joining, you know? You want to be subtle. You don't want to be too extravagant with everything. Do things like this. Come out. And you could put houses alongside these roads too. These houses along here are fine. Only thing I try not to do is just put commercial, because I try to keep commercial where commercial should be, like usually alongside an arterial, alongside a collector, but not alongside a local road. That always leaves a little bad taste in the mouth if you do that. But there's no right or wrong with road building, but there is a right or wrong when it comes to planning, because it all depends on the comfort level of the people, not in, say, this game specifically, but in real life. Make this one touch down through here, and this one will turn this way. Oops, that's fine. Come through here, remove these two, and just make this one curve into, and a cul-de-sac. So, with that being the case, let's see if I can zone here. I'm not sure if it's bugged or if I just can't zone housing. I find it a little odd that they're not spawning in. Let me spawn in something random for a split second. I'm gonna get rid of you. Oops. I'm gonna get rid of you. I'm gonna see if my housing will change just from that. There we go. Interesting. Okay. Might have been a weird little bug that took place, but that's fine. And now, when it comes to making houses, I want the house to be just splotched in place. I don't want the house to be all in one spot, all in one sitting. We're gonna separate it, give it space. And as you're building, you want to place trees between everything, because trees, they give everything life. Literally, they give everything life. And just by giving it a little bit more greenery, your neighborhoods would just look so much more better. Most houses are building, you get your tree tool. Now, if you're using Tree Anarchy has an update to where you can push the limit of the brush strength beyond 100 to 300%. Now, be careful with this. There is a specific setting that you can push it between tree trunks. I will not have that on because it pushes too many trees in one area to the point where your game lags really bad. But I will keep it at 300%. Make sure Anarchy is off, or else you place it in the houses and trees. Depending on the tree you use, you can just infill it. If it's bushes, you can always fill every entire crevice with bushes. Just be a little bit greener, but looks a little bit nicer, honestly. So again, houses, leave a gap, leave a gap, leave a gap. As long as there's a gap somewhere, you can fit a tree somewhere. By the way, we're using the UK low density housing because I find these houses to look the best when it comes to making suburban houses. I can use the Japanese inspired ones, but the Japanese ones look a little bit more richer for my taste over here. So we're gonna keep those until we find a good spot to use them. Again, place house after house, spot after spot. That's basically it when it comes to laying a grid out in these kind of areas. Be spontaneous with it. Don't be specific. That's my one rule of thumb when it comes to making a house like these. Be very liberal with the spaces between. Now, if you want to be very dramatic with it, in places where there is houses, but there is a big space between, let's leave this area blank for one moment. We put in houses alongside the rest of the corridor. Gap there, the house right. Let's leave this blank spot for a moment. What we can do for one step, I'm gonna clear out a bunch of trees here. We can, in fact, place down a farmland. So if we have a surface pavement, I believe everyone should have this in base game, but don't quote me on that. If you have an agriculture surface, you can paint little farmlands. Let's go a little closer. Paint a little farmland alongside these places, just to give it a little bit more life. And once you do that, you can place trees directly between these areas. Trees, or a little bit better, just bushes. Now you don't want to use a spread tool. You want to use single place. I will use anarchy on these because these do tend to be a little bit harder to place. But you can just use a series of bushes just to infill the area. And I tend to use oak trees as well because they are much larger. They do fill the gap in a little bit easier. But bushes really help give the area a nice little fill. Like oaks and alders, I will say. These kind of trees are really nice for just filling gaps. When it comes to small areas, there is a line tool as well, so this would probably be easier. Get the line tool and just fill in these areas. But it's most likely easier just to place it yourself. Just literally spam click. I don't know if you can hear my mouse, but this might be one of the best ways to do it. Anyway, you got a nice little farmland between the area of trees. And that's basically, in a nutshell, how to make the... Oh, my anarchy was on. This is why you don't have anarchy on. Whoopsies. Basically, in a nutshell, on how to make a nice little residential farmland. Just like that. Let's get the plumbing and sewage here so I can actually see. Connect this. We did make a power line before. I had added another one over here from the battery station, which I never connected for some reason. But we're gonna get this power line here. This one will feed the area directly through here. So we're gonna make it run parallel with the train. I should actually straighten these train tracks just a little bit, but it's okay. We can make do with what we have. Run right here as we can until it reaches a point where it has to turn away. Turns away, we're going to follow alongside this road over here. And we're going to give a little temporary area, a little temporary transformer station. We have power and water. Water is actually simple. I will fix this water line. This is the main water line that came with the city, so I had to use this to power the entire nuclear plant. But we're going to use this same water line and just connect it from here to here. I don't think there's a path, yeah, under the bridge, so we gotta connect it from here to here as well. That is just water. Oopsies. Here. And that should do it. Unpause. And things should go away soon. Maybe. Maybe. Maybe not. Taking a while. Power. Did I not connect the power line? Oh, whoopsies. Oh, gosh, I pressed every wrong button. Okay, there we go. Power. Times like these where I just do things to myself. I'm connected through the water. There we go. Now it should be connected. Now sewage. Sewage, sewage, sewage. Why is sewage showing up to be? Just not connected. Got to connect it again, just to be safe. Here. Interesting. Doesn't appear to be flowing through here. The line does work. It's working. I wonder. I'll have to figure that out later. But for now, there's a little start. A little starter neighborhood. I will be doing this kind of style throughout the entirety of Bedford Glade over here. Our next video will most likely be working on a custom train station for this quad track, our northeast corridor line here. Before that, before we stop and I do want to connect this highway to this highway, or this arterial to this highway. So let's do that real fast. Let's make it come back. We do want this to curve. Now, I did make a county line, as I mentioned before. This road is going to act as my county line, so let's actually make this line. I'm going to make my arterial run alongside this entire county line. So this whole spot will act as one entire district. As this spot will symbolize the end of the suburban houses and the beginning of medium density housing throughout here. Not all throughout here, but mostly medium density housing throughout here. The closer we get into the city, the more, or the taller the buildings will become in the future. We'll use the taller medium densities and then low rents. High density I want to try to keep in this area, but there are times where I'll put some in here, especially down by the water. There will be more higher density. Going down through here, we're gonna make this arterial run straight into this road over here. That's where the county line is. We're gonna convert it as well. We're gonna try to make it centered right through there. Destroy this because this needs to go up and over. Come through here. And you know what? I will actually keep this road here. We're gonna make this road rather merge into it. So the main road will turn, but there will be a different road coming straight through here. Which will be, that'll be fixed for later. We're gonna bridge across, find a way to the other side. Because I want no railroad crossings alongside this entire corridor. Think of this as a high-speed line. You wouldn't want railroad crossings on a high-speed line. There are certain points in real life where Amtrak, Acela, America's high-speed train, does have railroad crossings. I believe they are in Massachusetts. There is a high-speed railroad crossing in there, which is rather dangerous. I understand it by stations, but by anywhere else where Acela skips, rather risky to have. Might be a far distance, but there's only so much you could do with hills. Good elevator cross. Then the last connection to this highway. Now, the connection for this highway. I will try not, if there's one thing I'll try not to do, is make every highway look the same, or their connections look the same. I also almost want to change this one and make this one connect from a different road. Like, don't make the roads make a U-turn up through here. Just make them come through in one direction. But we'll see how bad any kind of traffic gets in the future. This one here is a rather large road, so we're gonna figure out how to make this one go through and connect. So I'm thinking the best interchange that we can make here is really one that will help me in the long run. That's really the only answer when it comes to making the interchange. What I mean by that is, if we get this road here to run all the way to the highway. First off, I want this highway to be above this road here. So we're gonna actually bring the highway up. But if we bring this over here, which way do we think is going to offer the most travel? Because realistically, cars coming from this direction to this road, there shouldn't be many, technically speaking, because there would be a prior exit further back. However, from this side coming into here, there would definitely be more travel. So what we're going to do is we're going to have two separate lanes or two separate entryways onto this road being both divided. So one turning down here, one looping around. At the same time, we're just going to have one coming across here, one coming up, but we might actually have one looping around and coming back, but we'll see how that goes. That might not be the case. It just might be one coming down, one coming up, and one coming down. One coming up. Maybe we might want this one. Depending on how many cars will take here. However, again, the scenario could change. More people want to come straight. We'll see. But let's start. Let's begin this one. We're going to time lapse this one. And now with everything finished, we have the highway completion, we have all the lanes in the right spot, we got people coming down already. Down to exit onto this side to come to their own home. Like I said before, we have the 2 ramps, one where I think most people would come through, or just this one over here, and this one where everyone else will come through. There's no need for traffic lights to yield through here, so they have to turn through here and yield to oncoming traffic that's turning. But that's about it. And if we report back to home over here, I fixed the sewage problem. I wasn't sure what it was. It just didn't like that pipe for some reason, so I just made a new pipe and pass under here. Again, I'll make a new path later on, but I'm not sure why I did that or why this one's bugged. I'm not sure, but yes, you can see a little bit more housing. The trees passing through here. Look at, just go into first person view. We could see it's much more lush. It gives a nicer look when the houses are a bit more spaced. People walking in the alleyways. It's nice when there's space between. But yeah, that's the entire city. Or the beginning of the city. This will expand more. Much more. Until next time, we will work on the train station. There'll be one here and one approximately over here. Again, I want to try to keep the stations at least a mile apart. And that's perfectly a mile, so yes. And this will also be a new town. But the further we go, the more inland we go, the closer we get to downtown. And honestly, I think we can get to downtown by probably in the next 4 or maybe even 3 or 2. It could be, who knows, the one after this video. But we'll see. With that being said, that will be it for today. Thank you guys for stopping by. And if you want to watch more cities content, I do have more on the channel, but I'm also always streaming on Twitch, doing cities on Twitch, with a few other variety games of the sorts. But with that being said, everybody, take care. Have a good day.